there's likely to be a fourfold increase in the demand for critical metals and minerals over the course of the next decade. So we're creating a rare earth magnet supply chain between Quebec, between Canada and Germany.
Donald Trump thought tariffs would make America strong again. He thought punishing Canada with trade barriers would protect U.S. jobs and send a warning to allies and rivals alike. But instead, those very tariffs have unleashed a storm. And at the center of it all stands Mark Carney, Canada's influential economic voice, who has turned Trump's gamble upside down. The result? A crisis in U.S. clean technology, one of the industries meant to carry America into the future. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Traveling Vibes. Because these aren't just policies, they're turning points in history. And remember, the best comment under this video will get pinned at the top, so make it count. Clean tech, solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicle batteries, green steel, advanced recycling is more than an industry. It's the race to dominate the 21st century. Nations that lead in clean energy will not only make money, they will set the rules of the future. America knew this. Canada knew this. China knew this. Europe knew this. And for years, America had the edge. But then came Trump's tariffs. On paper, they looked like strength. Penalties on Canadian imports meant to protect U.S. companies. But the global economy doesn't play by paper rules. For every tariff Trump slapped on Canada, Canada found a counter. And Carney, with his background as a former Bank of England governor and a global economic strategist, crafted a response that blindsided Washington. Instead of folding, Canada doubled down. Tariffs on U.S. clean tech imports, incentives for Canadian innovators, partnerships with Europe and Africa to expand green markets. In one move, Carney transformed a trade fight into a clean tech revolution. Canada wasn't just surviving Trump's tariffs, it was thriving. And U.S. companies? They were trapped. Solar firms suddenly couldn't get the parts they needed from Canada without massive added costs. Wind energy projects stalled as Canadian steel and specialized components became unaffordable. Battery manufacturers complained that tariffs on cross-border minerals were choking their supply chains. Trump claimed he was protecting U.S. jobs. But the reality was the opposite. Clean tech jobs started disappearing. Projects slowed. Investment dried up. What should have been America's next great industry was instead drowning in red tape, inflated costs, and lost markets. Meanwhile, Carney painted Canada as the global safe haven for green investment. He told the world, if America wants to fight itself, let them. Canada is open for business. Investors listened. Billions flowed north. European firms partnered with Canadian companies instead of U.S. ones. African nations signed renewable energy deals with Ottawa instead of Washington. And as all of this unfolded, U.S. clean tech workers panicked. In California, solar companies laid off employees. In Texas, wind projects halted construction. In Michigan, battery plants postponed openings. Every delay meant jobs lost, paychecks missed, communities hurt. For Trump's base, this was a bitter pill. The same tariffs meant to show strength were now destroying livelihoods in red states and blue states alike. Farmers, truckers, and factory workers could at least point to bad weather or foreign rivals for their struggles. But clean tech workers saw the problem clearly. Washington's trade war had backfired. Trump lashed out, accusing Canada of betrayal, calling Carney a globalist puppet, demanding loyalty from allies. But Carney stayed calm. His message was simple. The world needs clean energy. Canada will provide it. It wasn't anger, it was strategy. And that calmness cut deeper than Trump's rage. The crisis spread. America's leadership in clean energy began slipping. In global rankings, U.S. innovation fell behind Canada, Europe, even South Korea. In Africa, U.S. companies found themselves shut out of contracts they once assumed were theirs. Meanwhile, Canadian firms won bids to build solar farms, wind grids, and hydro projects across the continent. For America, the humiliation was sharp. Clean tech wasn't supposed to be Canada's advantage. It was supposed to be America's. But thanks to tariffs, Canada had momentum. And with Carney shaping the narrative, Canada had credibility. Inside U.S. clean tech, frustration boiled over. CEOs warned that without stable trade relations, their industries would collapse. Lobbyists begged Congress to roll back tariffs. Even some Republican lawmakers quietly admitted Trump's plan was backfiring. But Trump refused to back down. He framed it as a fight for sovereignty, for American pride, for taking back control. But pride doesn't build solar panels, and control doesn't power wind farms. Workers saw factories close, while Canadians saw factories open. Workers in America lost contracts, while Canadians won them. And the panic is just beginning. Because this isn't only about clean tech today, it's about the industries of tomorrow. Whoever controls green steel, advanced batteries, and renewable supply chains will control the backbone of the global economy for decades. By targeting Canada with tariffs, Trump may have accidentally pushed America out of that race. The numbers tell the story. In the past year alone, U.S. clean tech investment dropped by nearly 30%. Canadian clean tech investment rose by over 40%. Africa signed more renewable contracts with Canada than with the U.S. for the first time in history. And Europe, frustrated with Washington's instability, formally declared Canada its preferred clean energy partner. For U.S. workers, the fear is turning to fury. They hear Trump shouting about victories, but they see their jobs evaporating. They see Canada's rise, and they wonder who really won. This is the crisis America now faces. Not just a trade war gone wrong, but a future slipping away. Because clean tech isn't just an industry, it's survival, it's climate, it's innovation, it's the 21st century itself. And by pushing Canada away, Trump may have pushed America off the track. Carney knew it. Canada knew it. And now, the world knows it too. The chaos didn't end when Canada halted wheat exports. In fact, that was just the beginning. Across the Midwest, what looked like a temporary disruption quickly turned into a full-blown crisis. In Iowa, bread prices climbed higher with every passing week. Grocery stores posted limits on flour and pasta, forcing families to buy less than they needed. In Kansas, farmers were left in shock. Their own silos were full, yet the supply chain was cracking apart because the balance of imports and exports had been thrown into turmoil. And here's the twist most Americans don't realize. Canada isn't just a competitor in wheat. It's also a stabilizer. When American crops fell short, Canadian wheat filled the gap. When global markets shifted, Canadian exports steadied the ship. But when Canada pulled back, the ship tipped hard. Truckers across the Midwest reported fewer loads to haul. Bakeries in Chicago and Detroit struggled to keep costs under control. For every consumer paying more at the checkout line, there was a worker behind the scenes losing hours, losing wages, losing hope. Meanwhile, Trump went into overdrive. Rally after rally, speech after speech, blaming Canada, accusing them of betrayal, vowing to punish them even harder. But his anger didn't reopen the markets. It didn't refill the shelves. And in towns across the Midwest, patience was running out. Imagine being a wheat farmer in Nebraska, watching your crop grow tall and golden, only to find out that the chaos in trade has made your grain worth pennies on the dollar. Imagine being a mill worker in Missouri, seeing orders vanish as companies scramble to adjust. These aren't just statistics, they're livelihoods, and they're crumbling. Subscribe to Traveling Vibes, because these aren't just headlines, they're warnings for the future. And remember, the best comment under this video will get pinned at the top, so make it count.